Some places in America don't just hold history, they bury it. In North Carolina, the shadows move differently. Lights appear where no light should be. Voices echo where no walls exist. And sometimes, the ground forgets who walked on it. Tonight, you're not just watching a video, you're stepping into the forgotten corners of North Carolina. Lock your doors, put on your headphones, because after this, you won't walk these woods the same way again. This is Fragmentos Do Real. The lost colony of Roanoke, the vanishing that still echoes. They didn't disappear in the night. They vanished in history, and something never let the silence end. In 1587, over 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, part of what would eventually become North Carolina. They came with hope, tools, livestock, and a plan to build the first permanent English colony in the New World. 3 years later, they were gone. No bodies, no smoke, no graves, just one word carved into a tree, Croatoan. For centuries, history has called it a lost colony. But what if it wasn't lost at all? What if something on that island remembered them, and still does? The official story goes like this. John White, the colony's governor, returned to England shortly after the settlement was established. His daughter and newborn granddaughter stayed behind. White's trip was supposed to take a few months. It took 3 years. War with Spain delayed his return, and when he finally arrived back at Roanoke in 1590, he found nothing. Not a single colonist. Their homes were dismantled. Their fort collapsed. No bodies, no blood, not even bones. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a post, and crow etched into a nearby tree. Some took it as a sign. Maybe they had relocated to Croatoan Island, now known as Hatteras. But there was no distress symbol carved anywhere, no cross. And when White searched Croatoan, he found nothing. Here's where the mystery deepens. In the 1800s, local fishermen began reporting strange lights flickering in the marshes near the island at night. Not torchlight, not fire. Blue, cold, unnatural, hovering inches above the water and vanishing the moment someone approached. Others claimed to hear singing. Not birds, not wind, English, Old English, songs that hadn't been sung for centuries. In 1937, during an archaeological dig, a local farmer claimed to have found a stone inscribed with a message from Eleanor Dare, John White's daughter. The message said that her husband and daughter had died, and that the colonists had been attacked and forced inland. The Dare stones became a media sensation, but most of them were later declared forgeries. Most, not all. One stone, the first one, has never been definitively proven fake, and it's still locked away in a college archive where no one speaks about it. Locals on Roanoke Island still talk, quietly. A former park ranger who worked near the Fort Raleigh National Historic Site once said, "Sometimes when the fog rolls in, you hear things. A baby crying, then laughter, then silence like the island itself is holding its breath." A fisherman in 2009 swore he saw people walking in knee-high water at dawn. They were pale, dressed in rough clothes, walking slowly, almost drifting. When he called out, they vanished. No splash, no sound. Even more unsettling, a study done with ground-penetrating radar in 2015 found anomalies under the soil near the original colony site, like tunnels or chambers. But when they returned with excavation gear, the area had shifted. The readings were gone, as if something had moved. Some researchers believe the colonists assimilated with native tribes. Others suggest disease, starvation, even hurricanes, but none of that explains the lack of any remains. None of it explains the centuries of phenomena that followed. And it certainly doesn't explain why people today, tourists, hikers, locals, still report flickering lights, cold spots in empty woods, and voices in the wind saying names they never knew they remembered. In 1981, a ham radio enthusiast recorded something bizarre near the island. He was testing shortwave signals late at night and picked up a frequency he couldn't trace. On the recording, a woman's voice, speaking in broken 16th century English, saying the word home over and over. And then it stopped. The file was uploaded to a paranormal archive. It was deleted 2 years later. No copies remain. Some historians call Roanoke a cautionary tale. Locals call it cursed ground. But some say the colony never left. It just learned how to stay quiet. Because when voices speak from water, you can choose to listen, but you don't get to choose what hears you back. The Eno River Whispers, voices beneath the water. Some rivers cut through stone, others carve through memory. But there's a stretch of the Eno River where the water doesn't just flow, it speaks. The Eno River State Park is quiet, beautiful, a haven for hikers, campers, and anyone seeking calm just outside Durham. But ask the locals, especially those who've lived near the river their whole lives, and they'll tell you there's something else beneath that surface. Something old, something that remembers. It starts with the whispers. Walk along the suspension bridge at dusk and you might hear them, muffled voices coming from beneath the water. Not rushing water, not echo, voices, soft, urgent, as if someone is trapped down there, calling for help that never comes. Since the early 1980s, dozens of 911 calls have come from this part of the river. Frantic hikers reporting screams or splashes or cries for help, but every time when rescue teams arrive, they find nothing. No struggling swimmer, no accident, not even footprints along the banks, just the same calm river flowing like it always has. And then the calls stop until they start again. Local historians link the phenomenon to the indigenous Eno and Shakori tribes, many of whom were wiped out during the early colonial period. Oral histories say they believed the river could keep the soul of the drowned repeating their final words over and over, long after the body was gone. But that doesn't explain the more recent stories. One park ranger, anonymous in official reports, said that in 2004, during a low-water inspection, they found something strange wedged between the stones, a rusted 19th century locket engraved with the name Anna R. No matching historical record has ever been found, but here's the detail that chilled even the skeptics. The locket was sealed shut, and inside was a tiny scrap of parchment reading, "The river remembers." Campers report waking up at night to the sound of soft singing, English, but old, broken, Elizabethan, and when they step outside to investigate, the sound fades, replaced by the breeze through the trees. Even audio recorders can't seem to capture the whispers. One local paranormal group set up a full sound array in 2017, directional mics, EMF sensors, motion triggers. The devices all triggered at once, but when they reviewed the recordings, nothing but static. So what's down there? What makes the water speak without a mouth and cry out without a body? Some say it's just the acoustics. Others say it's trauma, the echo of centuries-old violence bleeding back through the land. But the most unnerving theory, that the river doesn't just remember the past, it stores it, holds it, repeats it, and that someday, if you listen too closely, you might hear your own voice calling back. Some whispers fade with the current, others follow you home. But the next mystery? It doesn't whisper, it rings, even when the bell was never installed. The dead silent church of Kreswell. Not every haunting screams. Some just wait behind walls that no longer echo and ring a bell that no longer exists. On the edge of Kreswell, North Carolina, just past the tree line where the pavement ends and the gravel forgets your tires, sits an abandoned wooden church, built in 1861, boarded since 1974. But nobody has the courage to tear it down. They say it's not cursed. Not exactly. It's still in service and just not for the living. Locals call it the Dead Silent Church, not because it's quiet, but because the silence doesn't behave. It listens, it reacts, it waits. Hunters passing through the area tell stories of hearing hymns at night. Soft, barely audible. Old Baptist spirituals that no one's sung in decades. There's no choir, no congregation, just the voices and the unmistakable sound of a bell ringing inside the steeple. One problem: the bell was removed over 40 years ago. There is nothing inside the steeple but rot and cobwebs. In 2001, a group of teenagers from Elizabeth City dared each other to spend the night inside. They went in around 9 p.m. When authorities found them at dawn, they were curled up outside the front steps, clothes soaked with sweat, staring blankly ahead. They had been missing for 3 hours. They all said the same thing. The church was full, but no one had faces. Investigators brought in audio gear, expecting birds, creaks, maybe wind distortion. Instead, what they captured was worse. A hum, Not electrical, not mechanical. A low rising tone that shifted in pitch like a melody just beneath human hearing. But the real horror was on playback. The live audio was clear. Birds, breeze, silence. The recording? Distorted, warped, and somewhere in the static, whispers in reverse. Old property records are vague. The church had no formal denomination after the 1930s. In fact, some locals claim it was never truly part of a town, just put there to draw in travelers. Others say the congregation made a pact during the Civil War to never abandon it, even after death. One former land surveyor, who worked near the site in 1994, described walking the perimeter and suddenly finding dozens of fresh footprints leading into the building, but none leading out. He never went back. And then there's the detail most visitors never hear until it's too late. You'll always hear the bell on your way out, even if you heard nothing going in, even if you covered your ears, even if you ran. It rings once, then stops, and some believe it isn't summoning you, it's marking you. Some spirits follow sound, others bury it. But in a quiet valley where no trail appears on GPS, light doesn't shine from above. It glows beneath your feet. The unnatural light in Panthertown Valley. Most trails take you deeper into the woods. This one takes you underneath them. Panthertown Valley, known as the Yosemite of the East, is full of postcard beauty, cascading waterfalls, blue ridgelines, hidden trails. But somewhere inside the Nantahala National Forest, there's a section that doesn't appear on any map. That's where the light begins. Not sunlight, not flashlights, not even moonlight. Beneath the moss and the rock, it glows, a soft, orange luminescence like something alive, breathing just below the surface. The first report came in 1996. A group of hikers spotted pulsing lights under a thin layer of soil, like embers trapped in stone. Their compasses failed, cell phones bricked, GPS went blank. They left in silence. Since then, others have found the same zone, but no one agrees exactly where it is, because the location shifts. One night it's beside the creek. Another, it's under the roots of a fallen tree. Always hidden, always moving, always just ahead. In 2018, a drone team filmed 3 distinct lights moving beneath the forest floor. The footage made it to a local blog, then vanished. All backups corrupted. All metadata scrambled. A professor from UNC Asheville brought equipment to test radiation, thermal variance, and possible mineral fluorescence. The result? No radiation, no fluorescent material, no geothermal activity. And yet, the ground was still warm. Geologists later noted elevated iron oxide levels in the soil, but not enough to explain the light. The only consistent trait? Silence. Even birds refused to nest near the zone. A forest ranger stationed nearby told a researcher in 2009, "I've only seen it twice. Both times I felt like something was under me, not moving, just watching." Some say it's a natural vent. Others claim it's leftover energy from an old Cherokee burial site. But the most unnerving theory? It's a heartbeat, not from the earth, from something beneath the earth, and the light is just its breath. People have tried to follow it, dig, film, camp. But the light never stays still, and those who chase it come back changed, dizzy, paranoid, drained. A woman who camped nearby in 2021 described waking up to find her tent glowing from underneath, as if she were floating above a fire. She moved out of the state a month later. She never told anyone what she saw, just left this note with a ranger: "If you see the light, don't blink. That's how it learns your face." Some lights shift, some vanish. But in the remote hills of Graham County, something burns in silence, moss over and over again, in a perfect circle. The mysterious circle of Graham County. Some places are hard to find. This one finds you. In the dense woods of Graham County, just beyond the reach of cell towers and far from any maintained trail, there's a clearing that shouldn't exist. Not because of how it looks, but because of how it keeps moving. It's always the same, a perfect circle of scorched earth. No trees, no moss, no growth, just blackened soil, surrounded by untouched forest. Hunters first reported it in the early 1950s, then hikers, then firewatch crews, always in different places, but always with the same diameter, 22 feet across. No ash, no burn marks on nearby trees. just earth that looks cooked from the inside. Every winter it reappears, and every time no one sees it happen, it's just there waiting. In 1995, a forestry team flew over Robbinsville doing aerial mapping. In one shot, they spotted a glowing blue point in the middle of a wooded patch. When they hiked to the location 48 hours later, there it was. The circle. The soil was dry to the touch, but underneath their probes registered unnatural heat. One technician described the smell as hot metal and rainwater. That same year, a local logger, 61 years old, sober his whole life, said he was out marking trees when he saw it for himself. There was a light coming straight out of it or blue like gas, shot up maybe 20 feet, and then it just stopped, like someone turned off a switch. The next day, he brought his son to the spot. The circle was gone. No disturbed leaves, no signs, no proof, except the black ring burned into his memory. In 2007, researchers from Appalachian State tried to test the electromagnetic field around the site. Their devices went dead within 5 minutes. One grad student left early and later told his professor, "Something was humming out there, not sound, like inside my bones." The soil has been tested repeatedly. No accelerants, no fertilizers, just an abnormally high level of oxidized iron, as if the earth had rusted from within. The most unsettling part? Trail cams fail, GPS glitches, and every person who finds the circle, whether by accident or on purpose, reports the same thing. I wasn't alone. Some locals believe it's a landing site. For what, they don't say. Others whisper it's a scar, the mark left by something ancient that rises once a year, burns the ground beneath it, and sinks back into silence. Theories range from radiation vents to ley lines, but here's what no one can explain. Why is it always the same size? Why is it never warm when it's supposed to be fresh? And why does it return only when no one is looking? The forest has secrets. This one leaves no trace except for those who walk into it, and sometimes they don't come back the same. If the trees ever lean away from a spot, one ranger said, you shouldn't step into it, because the forest already decided not to. Some marks burn the ground, others move through it. And deep in Chattam County, there's a house that doesn't just move, and it remembers who saw it. The Shifting House of Chattam County. Most haunted houses stay in one place. This one moves. Since the 1920s, reports have surfaced of a small wooden cabin deep in the forests of Chattam County. Always the same description. Chimney cracked, windows painted black, one door slightly open, always empty. At first, but what makes this house different, what makes it dangerous, is that it never stays in the same spot. Hunters say they've stumbled across it near Highway 902. A week later, it appears off Gum Springs Road. Then it vanishes again. No one ever sees it being built. No one ever catches it being torn down. It just shows up, like a memory that refuses to stay buried. Inside, it's always the same. One room. Furniture flipped, pushed aside, except for a single chair in the middle. Every object in the cabin faces that chair, and burned into the floor beneath it. A blackened ring, like something once sat there, and burned too long. In 2003, a man from Pittsburgh tried to document the house's location. He visited it 3 times. Each visit, his GPS recorded a different set of coordinates, miles apart. His photos? Static, corrupted. One of them had metadata reading. Device not authorized for this memory. Local legends go back even further. Farmhands in the 1930s warned of the black-windowed house that only showed up when you were already lost. A World War II veteran claimed he passed the cabin on foot 3 times in one night, in different parts of the forest, without ever changing direction. And then there are the explorers who tried to enter. One hiker in 2017 said the temperature dropped 10 degrees the moment he stepped inside. He turned around. The doorway was gone. The room went dark. When he woke up, he was lying on a roadside 3 miles away, with mud on his boots, and no memory of how he got out. He told friends he wouldn't talk about it again. When they asked him why, he said, "Because I think the house remembered me." Drone footage fails, trail cams glitch, and every now and then, someone driving through Chattam's back roads will swear they saw it, just past the tree line. Lights off, door open, and that feeling that you're being invited in, but don't go, because here's the thing, you don't find the house. It finds you. Some mysteries vanish without warning. Others follow you, but the ones that stay buried They're the ones still listening. If any of these stories whispered something familiar, leave a like to let the others know you made it out. Tap the playlist. The next state may already be watching, because maps can't show you everything, and some places weren't meant to be found twice.